tell us, Loren, about what this implication really means for how new actual astronauts, human beings, get to the moon.
Right. So under the original plan, Boeing's built SLS rocket, which NASA owns, would have played a substantial role in propelling astronauts to the moon. So astronauts flying inside the Orion crew capsule would have launched on top of the SLS, which would have sent them to the vicinity of the moon. From there, the capsule would have gone into the moon's orbit, and it would have met up with SpaceX's Starship rocket there. But that plan is now changing. So the plan now is for the SLS to launch Orion to Earth orbit, much closer to home. And in that orbit, Starship will meet with Orion. They will dock, and then Starship will propel Orion to the moon and put it into a low lunar orbit. So what does that all mean? Basically, the heavy lifting of sending Orion to the moon is now being done by SpaceX's Starship, not the SLS as originally designed.
Loren, there's a few other things we should say, which you and I have been over in great detail in the last 24 hours. The first bit is that there are two plans that have been greenlit. There's a Blue Origin proposal in parallel. It's just that we don't know what's in the proposal yet. We're working on it. And then the other part is, just reiterate, SLS still plays a role. And then you've got SpaceX with a basically 2-year deadline to prove that Starship can do a mission end to end.
Yeah, I think you laid it all out pretty clearly. So just to be clear, NASA has challenged both SpaceX and Blue Origin to move more quickly with their lunar lander designs. This is the result of them studying an accelerated plan. And you're right, Blue Origin is working on its own accelerated plan. And Jared Isaacman, NASA's administrator, said that whoever is ready first, whether that be Starship or Blue Origin's plan, will be the one to land humans first. So it's very possible that they could go with the Blue Origin plan if they are faster. And yes, Starship still has quite a lot of work to do in order to be ready to send humans to the moon. And one thing that we weren't able to get into, but it still has gone unchanged, Starship relies on a very untested technology with cryogenic refueling. So it has to refuel when it gets into space. Imagine filling it up at a gas tank, but that involves sending multiple Starships back to back to back in order to get enough fuel to send to the moon. That's no small feat, and they have yet to even demonstrate that in space yet.
Bloomberg's Loren Grush, top reporting. Thank you very much. Let's stick with US space ambitions and bring in Laurie Leshin, former director of NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, now a professor of space futures at Arizona State University. And back in 2010, actually, a little more involved in human spaceflight, right, as Associate Deputy Administrator of Exploration Systems Mission Director at NASA HQ. So Loren laid out the reporting, right? And, when we broke the story yesterday, industry took a long time to analyze what the proposed changes are. But basically, SLS or Starship, your evaluation of the options on the table?
Well, it's both and in this case, that in fact, we're still going to be launching a lot of SLSs. And so in some ways, the changes to the Artemis program that NASA has already confirmed, which, by the way, this change they haven't confirmed, right? So we need to wait and see for sure. But they have announced a lot of changes, including more frequent launches. More frequent launches of the SLS is very good for Boeing. So it's good for SpaceX, it's good for Boeing. I really have to give Jared Isaacman at NASA a lot of credit for pushing everyone to go faster, for taking a hard look across every element of this program. And those where it's behind and there's another option, trying to take those roads.
Absolutely right. And Loren, my and Julie Johnson's reporting is all according to sources. You're absolutely right that the status of the SpaceX and Blue Origin proposals is not yet confirmed by NASA. NASA also says, by the way, it's completely committed to SLS through Artemis 5. But, I'm really interested in your evaluation of Starship as an option, bearing in mind that for all of the testing so far, Starship has not really ever completed a test mission end to end. Factor that in, please.
Yeah, I mean, look, when I was at NASA, as you just mentioned, my earlier role was right at the beginning of their investments in the Commercial Crew Program, and Elon used to have to come in and pitch to us about the status of them getting ready to do that. And what I would say about SpaceX is I'd never bet against them to eventually get there because their capability is so strong. But they've got a ways to go with Starship. They haven't yet had a fully successful orbital test flight. And that's just getting the thing into orbit. Then you've got to learn how to use it, operate it in space, learn how to refuel it before you even get to transporting astronauts, across interplanetary space to the moon, and then landing on the moon, which is no easy feat as well. So a lot more steps to go, but they're making progress, and NASA is pushing them and Blue Origin and all of our fabulous industry partners involved to get to meet their commitments, to meet their schedules. It's time to move.
It's time to move. And they're all pretty busy. Blue Origin, we understand there's reporting elsewhere that Blue Origin's busy thinking about getting satellites up in space so it can help with data centers and powering data centers in space. Laurie, just from a focus of what should be prioritized at this time, is it getting humans to the moon should be number one focus right now?
It is the number one focus. And I think we have back in 2010, 2011, when I was in NASA human spaceflight, was when this program was born. Okay, it's when the SLS came into being. We had the Orion, and yet here we are 15 years later and still haven't sent astronauts beyond low Earth orbit. And we'll do that very soon with the upcoming Artemis 2 mission. But it's time to go and get this and establish our presence in deep space for good. And that's really what the Artemis program is about.